Good evening, 49er faithful. Glad to be back. Here is the live member call-in show tonight. Excited to have the Sneakerheads here to talk about whatever it is on their minds. Certainly going to be talking about the joint practices, the upcoming game against the Minnesota Vikings, and anything preseason related. Whatever you have on your mind is okay to bring to the channel today. I'm just glad to be back. Glad to be talking about 49ers. Appreciate everyone that is here in the chat. Those showing up: Mike Ellis 10, the Gabe Stivers Show, Jamie Bryant, Quesadilla, Thrilla 71, Sean 951 Niners, Raphael 562 Niners, Chris Royal, John B, Darren Worthington, and we are giving a special shout out before our first caller tonight. I wanted to give a thanks to the Salem 49er faithful crew. I had a great time going out there, met some people, took some pictures, had a blast with fellow 49er faithful, and very cool thing, entered the raffle and had some good luck. So walked away with this bad boy, a signed Patrick Willis freaking framed beauty here that needs to find its way into the backdrop of the set. Very excited to have gotten that. I'm going to be careful here so I don't knock over all the stuff on my desk, nor drop that freaking frame. Make sure that's not going anywhere. I'm delighted. It was a fantastic weekend. Excited, again, to share time with 49er faithful. And the gentleman who invited me to that get-together is first on the show today, adding him into the stream now. Chris Royal, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty darn well. How are you?
I'm doing very well, man. Glad to be back on. Glad to be talking Niners.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a freaking fantastic time hanging out with you guys at the get-together on Saturday. Great to see so many Niner faithful in one spot. It gets you hyped for the season.
Yeah, I mean, they enjoyed having you as well. I mean, you were the talk of the town there.
Hey, it made me feel, getting the occasional picture request made me feel like just a little bit famous, which is obviously not the case, but it made me feel that way.
Hey, you're a lot more famous than me, so that's for sure.
Nice. Well, what was your takeaway from the Vikings practice? I found that to be intriguing. Like, I really thought this was going to be a treasure trove of information, and then sort of had the Brandon Ayuk take on it, which was like, didn't really feel like there was much value to these couple of days. That was a little bit weird to me. Strange energy.
Yeah, it was definitely an odd thing for him to say. My takeaway is that, obviously our offensive line struggled. So that's not exactly a great thing to hear, but it is practice. Just hopefully they figure out some chemistry going into the season, because that could be an issue.
Yeah, it certainly could. And that leads into a question that's in the chat there. And as always, if you ever want to put a question topic into the chat, happy to bring it in. Always encourage the @Rob, so I know that you're talking to me. And Gold Blooded does just that. He says, @Rob and Chris, what are your top 3 concerns so far this offseason? Coming into it for me, I mean, I'm guessing that on that list is the offensive line for you, Chris. I know that it is for me. It certainly was a big concern coming in, and it still feels like one where the jury is still out. I'm waiting to see this line gel in a way that leaves me feeling that Trey Lance is going to be protected. As of right now, the center seems very much in question. The center 3 positions seem very much in question.
Yeah. So offensive line is kind of a concern for me. The secondary has been a little shaky.
Yeah.
And then we've kind of seen some injuries kind of ramp up. So that's kind of concerning as well. But fortunately, nothing like super crazy. But, injuries are injuries.
Right. No, I'm with you there, especially in concerns about the secondary in combination with the injuries that we're seeing, that you feel really good about the cornerback situation, spending some assets, bringing in Charvarius Ward, spending a few draft assets, hitting on Sam Womack, it would appear. And yet when you have your top 2 cornerbacks out, it starts to look pretty scary as to being able to cover, especially an exciting wide receiver group like the Minnesota Vikings have.
Yeah, I'm just, I have PTSD from, a few years back where it was, Kyle Shanahan seemed like every week was up there saying, well, he had a setback. He had a setback. And, so I'm hoping that it doesn't linger into that. But there's a lot of good things, from the backs. But, we just got to make sure everybody gets into the season healthy.
Yes, getting into the season healthy is absolutely a paramount, top of the list priority. I'm curious because there have been some developments here, and this is going to come up today. And while I probably won't touch on the Deshaun Watson angle of it, it most definitely has something to do with the San Francisco 49ers in regard to Jimmy Garoppolo. Any feeling now that we have Deshaun Watson being suspended for 11 games, it doesn't strike me as being enough games to really consider the Browns coming in and trading for Jimmy Garoppolo, a one-year rental, an expensive one-year rental. I don't see many other destinations out there. It feels like a cut is coming. I think Johnny Robinson is onto something. He's yelling at us. He says, I bet we have to cut Jimmy G because no one wants him. And he's angry about it, clearly, as he should be, as we all should be. But what is your sense on that now? Do you believe that now, in fact, it is going to be a cut?
Yeah, I think it's going to probably fall on that. I was looking at their schedule, the Cleveland Browns, and, their first 4 games are pretty winnable, even with Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. So, even if they lost the 7 after that, they're sitting at 4-7, and the backside of their schedule's pretty winnable with Deshaun Watson at quarterback if he, can maintain any resemblance of his success. So
yeah, right.
That would put them at 10-7, even if they won out the rest of the stuff. So, they might fall out of playoff contention just because the AFC is so, built with people.
Or AFC is super stacked.
Yeah. But there's a chance that they'd still make it in. So I think they'd probably just roll with what they have. And if they did bring Jimmy Garoppolo in, they'd wait for the cut and then get him in at a decent dollar sign.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. There are going to be a bunch of teams that are lining up to talk to Jimmy Garoppolo once he's cut. They just aren't interested in trading for him at his current salary and giving up draft assets to bring him aboard. Alan and Eliza are coming in. Rob and Chris, what are your opinions from Friday night's game of Trey Lance, Nate Sudfeld, and Brock Purdy? Trey Lance, I couldn't have been happier. I was hesitant when we brought him back in for the second series, especially when McGlinchey goes out at right tackle, so you have even fewer starters along the offensive line, and then the first play is a sack. I'm thinking to myself, Kyle, what are you attempting to do? Are you trying to get Lance killed out there? And then he throws the touchdown pass, and I was like, aha, that's exactly what Kyle had planned all along. It was the perfect play. Of course, you go ahead and you put him back in. And so I was pleased as punch with Trey's performance. Nate, I'm starting to see as a very viable backup quarterback because he's constantly checking it down, taking what the defenses are giving him. And as a talented defensive team with a hopefully at least mediocre special teams and a good run game, if Sudfeld has to come in for a handful of games and he can play it conservative like that with this team around him, that could be a winning recipe. And then with Purdy, you see the ability to operate the offense, just not the arm strength to necessarily threaten NFL defenses. It's been said a ton, but it did remind me of seeing an early Nick Mullins. Those are my thoughts on the 3. Chris, how did you see it with the 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah, along with you, I was kind of, worried about that second drive that Lance was out there, but, he had the little mic drop moment and then, walked off with that touchdown. Sudfeld, I mean, yeah, he showed some promise. I like Purdy's, mobility. I like how he can, extend the play, but like you said, his arm is, he doesn't have a very powerful arm, so that could cause issues. But, I feel pretty good with what I saw out of all 3 of them.
Yeah, I did too. It left me feeling pretty positive. Again, this team is built around the defense, specifically the defensive line. We've got a much improved secondary, so the entire defense feels like it is solid at this point. Special teams improved. Run game during the Shanahan era has not been a great concern. And so I don't need to see a whole hell of a lot through the first half of the season. I just need to see progression from Trey Lance there. What were some of your other observations coming out of that game or coming out of the joint practices? Where is your focus now headed into the game against Minnesota?
Well, Minnesota, I don't know. I'm kind of looking at just, the offensive line that they do put out there to see if there's any bright spots. That's really the only thing I'm going to be looking at. The secondary, seeing if Hufanga can have a bounce back game, just little things like that. I don't think
I'd like to see Tavarius Moore looking a little bit sharper out there as well. That will be something that I'm looking for. It'll be fascinating to see who even plays without Lance out there, as it sounds is the plan. Which of the offensive line get an extended run? Is Burford out there getting snaps again because he needs them, or is it primarily the backups?
Yeah, no, I think it'll be mostly the backups, to be honest.
Yeah, I tend to think so as well. And yet it will still be a fascinating game because this is the type of team where the backups matter. It is a deep team, and I'll be looking forward to it. Chris, any final thoughts about the current state of your San Francisco 49ers?
No, I'm just excited to get to some games that actually matter,
Me too.
Get everybody out on the field. But I appreciate you coming to the barbecue. I know a lot of people enjoyed it, so
I had a fantastic time. Wanted to throw this up before we go, man. Got the group picture, the group photo in there. It was an absolutely fantastic time. Thank you so much for the invitation to come out. Thank you to everyone that was there, everyone that I met while I was there. Really appreciate the invite, and honestly, look forward to joining you guys for a game or two this season.
Yeah, and I got to throw out something real quick on how world-class Rob is. He was going to give me a signed Bosa jersey because I hadn't won anything at all. So he gave me the Bosa jersey signed because he won it. And then literally the next pick I won, and I gave him that photo. So so
appreciate that, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you as well.
You're a good man, Chris.
I appreciate it, Rob.
All right. You take care. I will talk to you soon, my friend.
I'll see you next week.
Most definitely. All right. We are bringing in, let me get the photo as lovely as it is off the screen, and we are bringing in Korean 49er to the stream. Korean 49er, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Rob. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing very well. Hyped. Glad that we are getting closer and closer to the regular season.
This is true. I didn't see any value with the Minnesota practices outside of, going up against somebody else, at least for a couple of practices at least.
Yeah, it showed that, our defense is no joke, that other offenses are going to have difficulty with it as well. But it also exposed some areas. It was a foregone conclusion when your top two cornerbacks are out in this league. I don't care who you are. I don't care how deep you are at cornerback. When the top two are out, that's going to be tough to cover any receivers in the NFL, let alone a talented receiving core like Minnesota has. But it did show up as one would expect, and the offensive line did struggle at times as one would expect. And Minnesota's pass rush is nothing to sneeze at either, but it does highlight that there's still work to be done along that offensive line. And if not, Trey's going to be running around a little bit to start the season.
This is true. I hope that Minnesota could take advantage of Justin Jefferson for his career, just because they didn't take advantage of Randy Moss when he was there during his time with Minnesota and going to a Super Bowl when I thought they did with that one season where they were just catching everything and they were all touchdowns. So, but onto the Deshaun Watson suspension, the extension of that suspension.
Right.
I still feel Jimmy has no trade value. Cleveland may as well has good running backs, may as well rely on Hunt and Chubb and have the defense play well. They got a lot of good players on defense too. No reason to, make it like splitting the atom for, going with a quarterback that you're going to have to trade for. Just have Jacoby not make any complicated, tough throws and ride the defensive running game. Didn't Harbaugh teach us that running and defense, won a lot of games during his tenure with us?
Absolutely. Absolutely, they did. And you look at this scenario of potentially exploring a Jimmy Garoppolo trade. You're bringing him in, giving up an asset to do so, paying him an exorbitant salary. He's only got, 3 weeks to get familiar with your playbook before the season starts. You would expect that maybe he starts the season a little bit slow, or you just hold on to Jacoby Brissett. He's familiar with the playbook. He starts out fast, maybe doesn't have the same ceiling as Jimmy Garoppolo, but is there really that huge of a difference in between the two? That's certainly debatable. I mean, I will say this, right? You called this, as far as Jimmy not getting traded, a long time ago, and you were very concrete in staying with that position, and it has proved to be the correct one.
If he gets traded, I'll take the loss. It's not a big deal to me. I'm not going to lose 5 minutes of sleep over it. It is what it is. I mean, in the end, I hate saying this, but players are, they process players on every day, like they did Kim Dichie. They signed him, brought him into camp, and then they let him go. Hopefully he could find another team to be on. There's a lot of player movement, no matter who it is.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to bring in this comment here. Korean 49er Hypnotic brought it in. As a 49ers fan living in Eagan, Minnesota, I can tell you that I was, number one, pumped to see my Niners in my backyard, and two, Kinlaw obliterated any expectations I had for him. Good Lord, he looked unstoppable. I saw the video today of, Kinlaw walking off the field with his shirt off. Dude is, over 300 pounds. He's got a six-pack that I could only ever dream of having in my life at over 300 pounds. I say if he remains healthy and is eating up double teams, even if he doesn't rack up the statistical numbers that you might hope for, I am very, very anxious to see Kinlaw this season. I'm excited. Are you optimistic or still in a wait-and-see mode when it comes to Javon Kinlaw and what he's going to be able to do this season?
I want him to play well. I'm not negative against him. I just want to see it from him. That's all.
It's a wait and see, right? You got to see something before you jump on board.
Yes.
That makes sense. Sense. What were some of your biggest takeaways from the joint practices or from the game against Green Bay last Friday?
Good seeing Danny Gray actually make a deep catch and Trey actually throwing and having that pass be caught. That's a good thing.
That was a very, very positive outcome.
Hopefully Samuel Womack I think he'll be the nickel cornerback. So
yes. That was a shocker to me, that number one, that he had such a phenomenal game. And then that we cut Darqueze Dennard, who then becomes, even if he's not your starter, becomes a very clear backup. It's one of those, like, doing the right thing for a veteran within the league, allowing him to catch on with another team. I believe it's one of those moves that endears you to other free agents because you're treating the veteran appropriately in releasing them in the first cuts.
I had a thought in my back of my mind, since he was on the practice squad last year and nobody picked him up, that kind of just raised a flag. Not saying he's not a good player, but
sure,
couldn't he have contributed to somebody else? I'm just asking the question, not saying he's far more talented than I am as a football player. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes, if they need a new nickel corner, they are definitely reaching out to Darqueze before your phone rings from Santa Clara.
If I ever get that call, I'm hopefully recording it and, I could say, hey, the 49ers called me for something.
Yes, I would like to get a recording of that call if that ends up being the case.
Yes. And one last question to you, Rob.
Yes.
Two things that I can't stand within reason.
Okay.
They need to bring back all grass fields.
Yes.
I hate field turf.
I agree.
Because to me, you keep getting too many non-contact leg injuries on field turf.
All preventable.
Oh, not to say you can't prevent injury on a football field, since you do have men colliding on grass too,
just with less frequency.
Yes. And I understand the complaints about injuries, but when they did, those long two-a-days,
yes,
weren't there less injuries being reported at the time, or is that just a misnomer for... Yeah, we had players got injured, but we weren't as aware at the time, maybe.
I haven't looked at any indicators that would give me specific data as to whether it's increased or decreased. So it would just be sort of my memory, and my memory is atrocious. So I won't even attempt to go off of that. I will say that Kyle Shanahan called out the current schedule with the off days contributing to some of the soft tissue injuries. And at least for the Niners this offseason, I haven't been following all of the teams in the NFL with regard to soft tissue injuries. I happen to agree with Kyle Shanahan. It does seem as if we have a higher frequency of soft tissue injuries, but then again, we have fewer big injuries this season. And so I'm reticent to say that, I have any clear-cut data as to what is and isn't the better route. But to your first point of the grass fields, that one feels to me as very clear-cut. There is continual information coming out about the difference between a grass field and a turf. And I think what it boils down to is many of these organizations want to maximize the number of non-football events they can have in their stadiums, and it's far easier to do so when it's on turf, unlike the 49ers, who after a big concert have to change out the grass in its entirety and struggled with that initially within the stadium.
This is true. But I also remember that I've been to Fenway Park for a concert, and what they normally do is, the big stage is in center field.
Right.
But then they don't have any general admission, so everything in front of the stage, at least on the field, is all reserved seating. And then they take everything off shortly, the next day after the performance is over. Not saying that, that's going to extend the life of the field, or, is a field still as playable as it was before? I can't speak to that. I don't know that kind of information. So,
right.
But I do understand the cost factor, because it is cheaper to have. But to me,
you're talking about $1 billion industry. So I'm with you that that's not an excuse that flies with me. The NFL is not hurting for money, so they can afford the natural grass. I think we need to start a campaign and get it going.
Maybe I'm amazed that the NFLPA doesn't say more about it, because when their players go down, the quality of play goes down a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
As always, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Thank you, Rob.
Absolutely. Take care. We are bringing in the notorious GAV to the channel. Very excited for that. Just want to get to a couple of comments. Charles Alt, Sneakerhead here on the channel saying, Rob, sorry we're late, but Charles III and Charles IV are here. And we heard Bosa went off today. I heard the same thing. I heard it was unstoppable for Bosa today. Absolutely. Look at this. John B coming in to say, if Kinlaw eats up those double teams all year, Bosa is a lock for 20-plus sacks and Defensive Player of the Year. I like the hype. I'm all about the hype. Speaking of the hype, let's bring in the notorious GAV so he can hype up a certain captain coming into the San Francisco 49ers. Gav, how are you doing this afternoon? Actually, it's the middle of the freaking night where you are. How are you doing in the middle of the night, sir?
1. It's 1 in the morning. It is. So if I'm a bit tired, please excuse me. Right, yeah, but I straight up, especially just to talk to you, I have tonight, Rob.
Yes, I am. Hey, I'm fired up to have you on here, Gav. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. So what's going on? What's on your mind?
Right, first off, I want to check out my profile picture. Do you mean I want to just put me on the big screen and show everybody how sexy I'm looking in my brand new Juice Check jersey that I purchased just the other week?
Look at that. That is fantastic.
That's an actual picture of me in front of Levi's. That is, I was there, I've never been to Levi's in my life, but it looks pretty good to me, guys. What are we saying then, yeah?
It's a glorious Photoshop, my friend. You have fooled me. I see you there in front of Levi's, and it looks so real.
Right, yeah. So what I want to do, Rob, right, is the last time we talked, we slightly touched on the Captain Juice art project that I'm doing, yeah? Right. So I've got a question for you that I want you to ask me. Right, yeah, it's stupid, right? Yeah, but ask me this question, right? How did I come up with the Captain Juice art project?
Gav, let me ask you a question here. It just occurred to me.
No way.
How did you come up with this art project for the Captain Juice thing? Like, where did you even come up with that, man?
Well, it's funny that you should mention that, Rob, because Right, so this story, right, as a backstory, it's not just started because I've been posting pictures of Juice for 126 days. but really it's been going on for over a year. Because a year ago, last summer, I started calling into these shows. I called in Grant, Ronbo, and Jack Hammer, I did. And I talked about the same subject before the captains were announced last year. And I asked them all the same question. I said, should Kyle Juszczyk be a captain on the 49ers? And this was over a year ago, this was, guys, right? And they all agreed with me. Everybody said yes, like, you know, Captain Juice this, Captain Juice that. So I waited expectationally for the captains to be announced, and they made Raheem Mostert a captain, they did, and to my dismay. So I called back into Jack Hammer, I did, and I questioned the legitimacy of Raheem Mostert as a captain because of his injury concerns. And me and Jack sort of agreed that maybe it might have been a bit of a cause for concern. So what happens week one? Raheem Mostert goes down with an ACL, and we're down a captain in the running back room, right? Who stepped up all season, guys? We all saw it. Everybody saw it. I mean, there's no hiding the fact, right? Yeah, he was there. Juice. It was Juice all the way. He was the one in the running. He was taking Elijah Mitchell underneath his wing. He parting words of wisdom to the rookies he was. And he stood out to me as a natural leader last season. And after the championship game, then I set to thinking, and I was thinking, I made a bit of noise about the Captain Juice thing last season, but how can I get it over even more? How can I make a bigger noise, right?
Yes.
So we're in the middle of this off season, and I see Rita Oak, right? I caught on to Rita Oak right in the end. Those people need to stop comparing me to Rita Oak, because I am not an artist, right? I cannot draw, right? My art is crap, right? All the worst pictures you've seen right in the end, bar the Juiced and Confused, which is Rob's right in the end, are the worst pictures on there. And Rob, and be honest, right, yours is one of the worst, right in the end, but I loved it, right? Right, anyway, so I'm watching Rita Oak right there, and Jack Hammer as well. Shout out Jack Hammer, right? He's absolute god, right?
Love Jack Hammer.
Some hammers in the chat. Let's get some hammers in the chat, like, you know, for Jack Hammer. If we love Jack, right, let's get some hammers.
Throw some hammers in the chat, baby. Right? Support Jack.
So I saw that he was doing 49ers according to Jack, right? And it was daily tweeting, yeah? And he should bring that back. Jack, if you're listening, please bring that back. Make it like a weekday thing, Monday to Friday, according to 49ers according to Jack. I used to love that. I don't think he's doing it as much as what he was.
It's like, not quite as much. It definitely has fallen off a little bit now that he's following the practices, but I'm with you. I loved it.
Yeah, well, I saw what they were doing, right? And I thought, right, how can I... Because, like, to be honest, right, I saw the Rita Oak pictures as a bit of a negative post, right? Because it's wishing somebody off the team. Well, it doesn't matter if it's Jimmy G, right? Let's take the fact that it's Jimmy G out of the equation, right? It's wishing somebody off the team. I thought that's a super negative thing to be doing. Like, no offense to Rita. Like, she's done well out of it. She's earned money out of it.
She's done great with it. Yeah.
Yeah. She's overseas 49ers fan of the year this year for me. She is, like, you know, without a doubt. Like, you know, Rita Oak, shout out, like, right? But I thought, how can I turn that from a negative into a positive, right? And I thought, what's the most positive thing, right, that I could think of? And I thought, Captain Juice, right? So that's where the Captain Juice and the daily pictures was started. At first, it started off as a spot the difference, and it was just like me photoshopping a captain's badges onto Kyle Juszczyk. Now it's sort of evolved now, and it's like a Captain Juice or We Riot. I got other people making pictures for me.
I see Captain Juice or We Riot all over the place. When the Niners put on a thread, like when they do one of their streams, I see it in the chat.
Yeah. I've been tearing up the crowd. I've been rioting. I've been in the middle of it with my picket. I have Captain Juice, and everybody seems to love the idea this year. I think, and also, I want to make it perfectly clear, right, that when Kyle Juszczyk is made a captain, it is nothing to do with me whatsoever. What I have done right here is it's not me. It's all him. He's put on all the hard work right here.
Right.
So I don't want any congratulations or anything like that when he's made a captain. Nobody congratulate me. Congratulate Juice.
Yes.
Right here, because he deserves it. Right here. It's all about him. It's
said,
not about
sir.
Right? Yeah. So basically, right here, that's how it's all come apart. I thought I'd share my story, because a lot of people have seen the Captain Juice art, and they might have thought that it's only a recent thing, but it's not. It's been going on for a long time, for me anyway. And it's not often I can say I'm right about the 49ers, but guess what? this crazy Welsh guy, he was right. He was right. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I want to see it as like, do you mean a celebration of juice, right? I want it because I've had a lot of ridicule as well because people are saying that a fullback, Kyle Juszczyk is just a fullback. He's only a fullback. Like, what do I say to that? That's all shit. Right, yeah, he is more than a fullback. He's wide receiver 4, right? He's tight end 2. You line him up in the slot, and he becomes whatever you want him to be.
So
right?
true.
Yeah, he can be a running back as well if he needs to. You can hand the ball off to him. Right? Yeah, he plays special teams. He's an older. You know what I mean? There's nothing that guy can't do. If Wisnowski goes down, Kyle Juszczyk is taking kicker punts. I'm telling you now, right? I swear, that's the sort of guy he is, though. That's the sort of guy he is, right? So that's my bit of a rant, anyway, right? Now, before I go, right, I've got like something that's really miffed me off, right? I mentioned it on Twitter to you earlier, Rob, right?
Yeah.
I think EA and the NFL Top 100 totally ripped Kyle Juszczyk off, right? Now, the reason I say this, right, is if you compare his stats, right, from the season before to last season, right, he was more productive this season. All right, his total touchdowns were down, but he had more total yards he did, and he was more productive, and he was targeted more. He was like, and he had more catches catches he did. So how can he have a more productive year, but on EA Madden, on Madden 23? His stats stay exactly the same. He was 87 the year before, and he's 87 this season.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, right? Yeah,
unbelievable.
His stats go up, right? Yeah, his production stats go up, but yet the NFL Top 100 have decided in all their wisdom that 99 players have got better, right? And that Kyle Juszczyk should move from 97 to 100. He's not even going to be in the top 100 next season. What's going on? He's the best fullback in the league.
He's most definitely going to be in the top 100 next year because he's going to be captain and he'll get the recognition that he deserves. That's what's going to happen this year.
That could help. That could shine some light as well because he'll be the only fullback in the league who's a captain on the team, correct?
Yes.
Are there any other fullbacks in the league who are a captain? I do not know. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I can't imagine that there are, right? It seems far-fetched to believe it.
I don't believe Patrick Ricard is. He's the one for the Ravens, right? I think he's like the second best fullback in the league, apparently, according to everybody. I don't think he's a captain on the Ravens. So yeah,
I don't think so either.
Yeah, but I think it's a good thing that we got Juice as a captain. Do you mean it should happen? Like, nobody deserves him more.
I absolutely believe that, my friend. I love your passion for Juice, Gab.
Just totally come in and just ransack the place with Juice. Let's go, Juice. Give me all that Juice.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Gab.
Rob, you're an absolute legend, you are. Thank you very much for all the content that you give out to everybody for free. You're an absolute diamond. Cheers to you, mate. Cheers to you.
Cheers to you, Gab. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Rob. You're an absolute angel.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
I'm gonna smoke a fat one now and go to bed.
Absolutely. Enjoy that, my friend.
All right, then.
You take care of yourself.
And you. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Awesome. Very cool. All right. We are bringing in Sean 951ers in just one moment. Just going to hit a couple of these comments coming in here. CJ Gray says, any real sneakerheads, meaning not members of the channel, sneakerheads, but people who actually collect sneakers. CJ coming in to say, I got some dope threes for the game in Chicago. I am now booked for Chicago. Got the hotel, got the flight. I am in. I'm gonna hold it until the last minute to see if I can't get myself a nice 50-yard line seat somewhere for cheap. Don't have my ticket to the game yet, but I am locked in on Chicago. CJ, I hope to run into you there. John B coming in says, biggest issue I've had with Jack is his run where he seemed down on Trey and wanted to stick with Jimmy for no logical reason. I don't think he actually wanted to stick with Jimmy. I think he was making the case for having Jimmy as a backup was a better team. And it was a fair conversation to have, but I get what you're saying there, John, as far as feeling that was taking us in the wrong direction. And appreciate Ken Fashion Journey saying, shout out to my favorite Niners YouTubers, Rob Schuh, Rombo, Crocker, Jackhammer. Appreciate all of that. Absolutely. And Gold-Blooded with the last one before I bring in Sean 951 says, Rob, was your handle Oregon Niner on the Press Democrat back in the days, if you ever were on there, that is. I was on there. It wasn't Oregon Niner because back when I was on there, I still lived in Southern California. I think it was just maybe Rob Schuh 13 or the Left Shoe, maybe my Twitter handle as well, but definitely was on there. All right, bringing in Sean 951 Niners to the stream. Sean, how you doing this afternoon, my friend?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm good. Better now that I'm here talking with sneakerheads about the San Francisco 40 freaking Niners.
Yeah, man. No, it's. I would say I'm looking forward to Saturday, but who's playing in that game?
I don't even know. It is just a train wreck as far as what starters are going to be out there. The only reason I can think of it as fascinating is because these jobs at the end of the roster are so fierce right now, and so there's legit competition going on.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously it's good for us to watch so we can see what the second, third, and fourth tier guys look like and who should be released after that game and things of that nature. But that's why I'm not really looking too crazy forward to that because, like I said in previous shows, I know who our ones are.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that's what all of us want to see. So
absolutely,
I'm looking forward to the Houston game, and really see what we can do. But ultimately, the first game didn't do much for me. I know. Trey did well, but Trey also played against dog crap defense. There was not much first string in there that mattered in regard to Trey.
No, just a couple of first stringers, right?
Yeah, a few guys in the front seven, but I mean, that's when you saw him scramble. A couple of the guys got through there, but I mean, his throw to Gray, what I liked about it was more Gray than Lance because, we know Gray has speed, but can Gray separate? Well, he did separate. Granted, again, it was from a second or third string guy, but Gray's also a second or third string guy now.
Right.
I mean,
right.
So that was good to see. Some of Lance's throws, that high one to Dwelly, not a big fan of for that 1 yard gain.
No, I don't know many of the other tight ends actually bring that one down. Dwelly and maybe Tanner Hudson, but other than that, it was a hell of a catch.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, but I don't put there's no stock either way in this. I mean, just from watching it, it was like, okay, good. I turned it off at halftime because I had other things I was doing on a Friday night for my daughter's birthday, but
congratulations and happy birthday.
Oh, thanks. 6 years old. She's grown up, man.
Damn, the years fly by, I'm sure.
I know. I've got two of them in private school right now, so it's pretty different there. But anyway, but yeah, no, I mean, and even with the Minnesota practices, I mean, I listen to the Minnesota side more than I listen to the 49ers side from a reporting perspective because anyone can be biased at that point. They're going to swing and say Niners this, Lance this. I wanted to hear what Minnesota had to think about it. And I
like that angle.
And really, all of them, they're YouTubers, the reporters. I mean, anyone I could find on there that was reporting. And they all pretty much said, the Niners dominated day two from a defense perspective because they were going, they upped it a little bit once Warner told them, let's take it up a notch, which is expected. Minnesota's not a high octane offensive team. They have a couple receivers, but, we dominated them 2 years in 2019 in the playoffs with the same receivers.
Right.
Same quarterback. So, it's good work. It's good to get them to go against a few other guys, but ultimately nothing that made me go, oh my gosh. And that's what I've been looking for or anything of that nature. I think it's going to wait until the Houston game. They should play the first half. Let me see how they look there to give me that, that excitement to run to Chicago and, put us in position to hopefully blow them out.
Yeah, I swear, when I saw the game on Friday night, it confirmed some of the things that I believe to be the trends right now. It confirmed to me that I'm seeing enough from Trey, enough big plays to balance out what I anticipate to be some rookie struggles. I'm seeing enough from the offensive line that even if they struggle a bit in pass protection in the center, that they will be suitable. I see enough from backup players to make me feel like, well, once all the starters are in there, this could really be something special. But it's not concrete. It's still very, hey, we haven't gotten to the regular season. We haven't gotten to any point where we're playing another team where all their starters are out there, but it is leaving me optimistic. It's not making me more optimistic, and it's not turned my optimism to pessimism. What was your feeling coming out of Friday? Do you feel similar to how you felt going into the game, where you still have optimism and your mind isn't changed by anything that you saw, or did anything you saw on the field change your mind?
No, I mean, I'll just go offensive line on this question because there wasn't any other positions offensively for me to take a look at. We didn't have Mitchell out there. We didn't have Deebo. We didn't have Ayuk. We didn't have Kittle. I mean, it was just our, second string, who's filling out a depth chart. But offensive line wise, I really, just like I said I guess I missed last week, the week before.
Right.
The reason I'm not as worried, even though I see no ID saying the O-line's trash, at the end of the day, we don't know what they are because we're not scheming, game planning. Nobody's doing anything but just running a play. Here's your guy. Go do it. Show me on tape. Let Lance get the ball off. Let's just progress. Once we get into a position where we're game planning for the defensive line and such, that's when you see, like I said, last year, when Tom Compton and Brunskill and certain guys have to come in, well, they look better because we're doing certain things with guys behind him that don't allow them to ruin the play. So, yes, do we have the best O-line in the league? No, period. No matter what happens, we don't. But if we can sit there and make sure that our McGlinchey is solid, I know he's not the best, but he's
right.
Let's see if
he's solid, though.
Trent is Trent.
Yeah, the best in the freaking business.
Best in the business, 99 Madden. I don't recall a year since Shanahan's been here, even when we were 0-9 in 17, where the center and the guards were the reason why we were losing games. He's an offensive guy. He'll scheme around that. If we're getting blown up in the middle, then we're going to be running off the edges, and we're going to have a lot of those comebacks by use check to cut back the backside. Wherever there's a problem, Shanahan will use one of our guys to eliminate that problem. There's a reason why Aaron Donald doesn't do much against the 49ers. Now, granted, he did in the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game, but Trent was on half of a foot. Our guys had played like 472 straight games in the regular season and playoffs. There's a lot of factors that were going against us at the end of that game. And then Jimmy's Jimmy, right? But I really believe that we'll be fine on the O-line as long as those guys don't get injured. If we start having to dig down deep into the pool of O-linemen, that's different. But we can't predict injuries, right? So to me, I don't have a concern there. My biggest thing is, how is Trey going to do on third down? And how is Trey going to do running Shanahan's offense? Because Shanahan he sets everybody up, just like Matt Ryan when he got his MVP with Atlanta.
Sure.
Set up, shot. Set up, shot. Set up, shot. If Trey can get all the setups handled, the shots will come.
That's
if
true.
Trey's not handling the setups, then the defense is going to stay in that first 12 yards, and it's going to be very hard. We're going to have to make sure we hit those 15 to 20-yard third down plays, which, as we know statistically, even if you're Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they're hard to do on a consistent basis throughout a game. But the one factor in all this that not a lot of people still talk about, our defense is so damn good that even if Trey has some subpar series or some subpar quarters, I'm telling you, there's a reason why Jimmy G was 30-something and 14 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It's because he could win games 13-6. He could win games 17-14. We have short fields, turnovers. So to me, Trey is going to be in a position, I hope, to only have 50, 60 yards to go on a majority of his possessions throughout a football game just based on field position because of our defense.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely. And that makes such a difference in what the expectations are for the young gentleman. It takes so much pressure off of his shoulders. I want to bring in Jaguile56 with the super chat here as well, saying, Rob, what I am sure of is we are a physical team. I can't dispute that comment either. I mean, certainly on defense, this is a very physical defense. As a run-first team, you look at them as a physical offense. As a dual-threat quarterback, that certainly makes you, 11-on-11 football, certainly more physical for defenses to have to scheme against. So I think Jaguile56 has certainly nailed something that is true about this team, a very physical team.
Well, name a Shanahan team that was not physical, even going back to the Browns. I mean, you don't have to win all the games, but you're always going to be physical. That's why we can't have three running backs. There's a reason why we have a lot of injuries, because we play 1,000 miles an hour and everything is go, cut, upfield. Well, when you have a train coming this way and a train coming this way every single play, you're bound to have chaos. Well, some guys fold, and that's what opens it up in the third and fourth quarter. A prime example, Carolina Panthers 2019, when it was 51-13 or whatever it was. Broke their souls. That made Luke Kuechly go, I'm going to retire at the end of the season. This is done. I can't handle this type of craziness from an offensive scheming perspective.
Right.
But still, I mean, it's what it is. It's our MO, right? I mean, we're always going to be physical. I mean, you wouldn't have Trent Williams as your left tackle and have him running Joe Staley routes down the left sideline, blowing up DBs on sweeps if we weren't a physical football team. You'd use only your wide receivers and tight ends for that. It's just the way we're made up.
Very physical football team. And we've got William Bennett coming in. Hasn't been on the show for a little bit, but William, we love you. Hope you're doing well. William Bennett, Sneakerhead here on the channel, says, remember, Trey just has to be as good as Jimmy. That's true. And then towards the end of the season, just a little bit better to get us to the promised land. That's how I feel. That's how I think it's going to be this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's being as good as Jimmy. I mean, that depends on what we're referring to. Are we referring to how many wins he got? Are we referring to how many yards he passed for? How many, third down conversions we had? Right. Like time of possession he was able. I mean, so like to me, it's he has to. I'll add something in front of that. He has to run the offense as good as Jimmy. That's what he needs to do.
That's a nice way to put it.
Run the offense. Yeah. So if you have a pass where a check down is your number 2, get it out within 5 seconds, execute it. Move on to the next play. If you're running, slide. If you have a first down you need to get in a critical situation, by all means, go get it. If you've got 3rd and 15 and it's not there, just throw the damn thing away. I don't need you to throw a pick and try to be a hero. Let our defense get you the ball back in 3 downs. Because that's what they're going to be doing the majority of the games.
Right. No need for hero ball. Different if you're taking a shot down the field. By all means, go for that, because if you screw that up, it's just a punt of sorts. But I agree with you. No hero ball. You got a great defense, great run game. Be conservative. Operate within the offense.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I mean, this is why this preseason, right now, it's like it drives me a little bit crazy because it's hard to – Shanahan hides everything.
Yeah.
Like you don't see anything from him, right? It's good for kudos for him. It works. But I want to see going into week 1 and 2 against 2 trash teams. Do we actually come out guns blazing and run that football and pound it and then use Trey in that play action and put up 35 some odd points a game? Because we can't all get lost in the fact that Jimmy averaged last year, or I should say our offense, but he was the quarterback, 28 points a game. So if you give this defense this year 28 points a game, I don't see, minus maybe the Chiefs, possibly Chargers, not even the Rams, because they rarely ever even score that high on us ever. I don't see us losing any other game. If you can put up 28, I mean, that's what we did with the same offense last year. So to me, if he can just execute 4 scoring drives in a 60-minute game, I don't believe there's going to be many games that our defense is going to get outscored by that, unless there's pick sixes by Trey or some crazy stuff, right?
Right.
Kickoff returns,
I agree.
punt returns.
You give this defense that kind of scoring, it is going to be a scary season. William Bennett coming in to agree, saying exactly, Sean. And we had Chris Royal coming in just a moment ago to say, William O.G. Bennett. I love the love back and forth between the channel. It's just good stuff. All right, so what are you going to be looking for coming up from this game, just from when you read about the reviews? Because it's not going to be something that you're tuning into. You've let us know that, hey, it's not a top priority this weekend because it's going to be primarily backups. Is there anything you're looking for from the result?
Yeah, I mean, I am going to watch. When I say I'm not going to watch it, I mean, I'm just not going to, set my entire day apart and leave me alone.
Yeah, it'll be in the background, so to speak.
I'll be watching it, having a drink, chilling out. It's Saturday, whatever. I mean, I'll never miss a Niner game. Shoot, I can tell you that right now. but I mean, I'm just looking. Well, number one, I'm looking for progression. I want to see from a lot of guys, our number 2s and our number 3s, who's fighting for a spot. Because if you're going to fight hard for a spot in the preseason, you're only going to get better in the regular season if your number's called. If you're a guy that's just sitting there, just going through the motions, like, man, I'm number 4 in the depth chart, you're going to see that because they're going to play that way. But I really think the D linemen, I'd like to see our D linemen second teamers still destroy. Because if you can destroy as a second team, that just lets me know, awesome. The strength of our team can have a nick, and we're not nick like pun intended for Bosa, but have like an injury and still be able to hold strong. I don't need to see much from the linebackers because we're solid there. Obviously, we have some, soft tissue injuries in our secondary. But the way that I'm reading it from Shanahan and them, it does not sound to me like it's a big deal. Like, hey, you're set, Chavarius. You're set, Jimmy Ward. We're okay here. I'd like to know, too, I'd like to see if Ferret if I can get updates on Verrett's progress, because I really think he could be a dark horse too throughout the season. If he can come back, and if we have, so let's say there's some silly like, Mosley or somebody like has something silly. If Verrett can come back and play, his last couple years like he did a couple years ago, 2 years ago, I would be ecstatic.
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
I just loved what he did for our team 2 years ago when we were in when we were in a tough season.
Yeah. And he is so well liked on the teams. He has so much respect from his peers. He's viewed as one of the cool guys in the locker room. Everybody, wants to be buddy with Jason Verrett. So to have him as another feel-good story coming back in and contributing in some way this season, that would be phenomenal. It seems right now that since he hasn't been activated to this point, I would anticipate he starts the season on PUP, and then, it's a mid-season addition. But what a valuable mid-season addition that could be.
You know what's interesting? I'm going to shift off Verrett because you're right. That would be amazing. You know what I do think is crazy? This past 3 days, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, I feel like half the media, it's just national, not picking anybody out.
Yeah.
Half the media, and this is what's hilarious about media in general, half the media is like, oh my God, Trey Lance 49ers, NFC favorites, Super Bowl, here we come. Then the other half, their colleagues are not. Oh man, no way. They'll be lucky to finish third in the West. Trey, no, I don't see it. It's going to be too tough. I'm like, who are these storylines coming from? Like, I'm not picking either one. Yeah. I want this one. But I mean, what the heck? Like, it just blows my mind. Trey had a terrible practice. Oh, the next day he's got four touchdowns, 11 to 17. Like, who gives a damn? Like, do you ever go to practice for baseball or whatever sport it is? And every single day of practice, you're like, oh, man, season's going to suck. Then the next day you're like, oh, I'm going to be an all-star. It's practice for a reason. Everything's methodical. Everything has a reason for it, right? You practice ground balls. It's specifically just to get the damn ball repetition. Like, yeah,
you're working on specific things.
I mean, you're going through practice. Like, that's just drive me crazy. I'm like, come on, guys. But let's get past this game. Let's get the cuts down so I can start to see a little bit what Shanahan and Lynch are looking at for 2s and 3s. Yeah. And the one big thing I would like to see, regardless, no matter what, in these next 2 games, every Robbie Gould attempt at a field goal be 100%.
I'll take that. I want to
see, because he's only getting older.
I'd like to see him getting the freaking ball into the end zone on the kickoffs too, man. I really would. It drives me crazy.
You want to get balls in the end zone. Who's that dude that had that 80-yard punt for Buffalo?
Yeah, we need the punt god, right? Damn it.
Oh, my God.
Missed out on that.
If his leg's strong enough to kick straight up, you would assume he could swing it
and
kick the ball straight, right?
I think so. Man, fantastic call. Before I let you go here, Sean, though, Chris Royal comes in with the super chat. Says, agreed, Sean. If you fight to make the team, you'll fight to stay on the team. We need dudes like that from top to bottom on the squad. So Chris is in agreement in what he will be looking for in the Minnesota game, as am I. I think you need those dogs on the team.
And the last thing, I agree with that. And that's the one thing I do like right now about Fred Warner. Although, yes, he was the captain, et cetera, but he has a chip this year because he was not all pro Fred last year.
Right.
He was just good Fred. And he heard a lot of the rumblings of, man, Aziz played better than Fred. Oh, man, Dre was just hurt, or, he was playing. So, damn well he came into this like, no. I got paid. I got 2 dudes next to me that are ballers, that are dogs. But if I don't step mine up, I can get overlooked at that point, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that he's taking it. He's taking the defense, and everyone's, calling him out for his leadership and such. He's obviously starting stuff with Brandon Ayuk, and obviously a little bit of stuff with our defense and some chippiness with tackling today and such.
Right.
But ultimately, I like that because we have that reputation of being, I mean, you can use the word physical, but that's like so simple to say. You don't want to play us. We're starting to create that, like, you don't want to – these guys, here we go again. These Niners again, they're going to you're going to be bloody. Just like the Rams in the NFC Championship. They put their pads on Thursday when it was supposed to be a non-padded day. It's that type of mentality you're sending across the league. And everyone knew Jimmy was a liability. If Trey can continue to progress, especially in that third game, I'm telling you, we should go into Chicago and blow them out of their freaking building.
I agree, Sean. I think it's going to be a fantastic season. Regardless of the outcome, it's just going to be fascinating to watch because we have so many freaking storylines, and I'm looking forward to it, my friend. Fantastic call, as always, Sean.
All right, bud. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, appreciate you. Hope to talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. You got it.
All right, take care. We are bringing in Jonathan T to the stream. You know him, Starco fan 212. Jonathan, how are you doing this afternoon, my friend?
I'm fine. I'm doing fine, Rob. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate you asking.
So let's just go over some things I have on my notes really quick. So
Excellent.
First thing up is Sammy Womack with the 2 interceptions versus the Packers. You think he could be a starting cornerback this season, or do you think he'll be on the depth chart?
I think he absolutely has now earned himself that starting cornerback position, the nickel cornerback position. Kyle Shanahan coming out to say almost as much when he said, hey, we had a rookie starting in Cleveland when I was there. His name was K'Wan Williams. And so Kyle Shanahan is not afraid to have a rookie starting at that nickel cornerback spot. And the signal of cutting Darqueze Dennard seems like a clearly delineated agreement between the Niners and Darqueze that said, hey, like, we're bringing you in on a 1-year deal. If you earn the starting role, you'll stay here. If we see that you've been unseated as the starter, we'll do you the solid of cutting you so that you can try and land with someone else. I think it's entirely possible he ends up back on the practice squad, but that cut signaled to me that, yes, in fact, Sam Womack will be the starter there.
Got it. And so I think you already talked about this earlier in the show, but the Deshaun Watson thing being up to 11 games now, I also don't think it's going to affect Jimmy G's trade that much because of the amount of money you have to pay for him. And I think Jacoby Brissett has shown in the past, especially last year, that he can be a good long-term backup role, I guess.
I think Jacoby Brissett is a very suitable backup quarterback. Is Jimmy Garoppolo better, in my opinion? Yes. How much better without knowing the playbook, without getting in there and actually learning the Browns playbook, having enough time before the start of the season? I don't think he's that much better that you would pay $20 million for 11 games. I will say this about the Deshaun Watson suspension. I find it a little bit disappointing that the NFL landed on 11 games and that allows Deshaun Watson to come back and play his very first game against the Houston Texans. It feels a little bit like the NFL is making money off of a very unfortunate situation by creating sort of a highlight game that people are going to want to watch. I don't know if that was intentional or not on the NFL's part, but I find it a little bit disappointing. But with regards to the Niners, no, I don't think it impacts the value for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think we are nearing a position, barring some injury in the next 2 weeks, where we're going to have to cut Jimmy before we get to August 30th.
True. I believe Jimmy will get cut too, but I do agree with you that about the weird 11 game, because it's not like a solid number like 10 or 12, like an even number like most like for DeAndre Hopkins, let's take him for example. He was suspended for 6 games, an even number. So most suspensions are usually around an even number range. So to find him to only 11 games and just to happen, coincidence that he gets back on that the week he comes back, he's going to play the Texans, his former team, is just seems like too much of a coincidence to not bring up red flags about. I don't want to bring up anything about whether he's guilty or not, but it just seems like a bit too much red flags where it seems like, maybe the NFL sees dollar signs there. Definitely.
Yeah. It certainly has that outward appearance, whether it is or is not the case. It definitely has that outward appearance.
And I want to talk about Trey Lance next because there is some talk that he could be the MVP, and we did see some pretty good passes from Trey Lance, although we did see him again in a limited role, which is understandable since we want to protect him since we are starting him in week 1, we want to protect him as much as possible. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on Trey Lance, though, and how he played.
As far as the MVP talk, just to touch on that quickly, I would say it's a stretch to put any money for me on Trey Lance as MVP. Not that I don't think he can have a phenomenal season. I really do. But most of the people voting on that would attribute, if the Niners have success this year, it will be, because they have an elite defense and Nick Bosa and that defensive line are shutting down opposing offenses. So even if Lance has a statistically compelling season, it might be the case wherein his voting for MVP is lessened because the team around him is so good and he's not doing quite as much to carry the team to victories because it's a very complete team with a great defense, good special teams, and solid run game. And then he's adding on top of that. So I see Lance setting up to have a very successful season, certainly from a win-loss perspective, but also from a statistical measurement perspective. I just don't think it will be quite good enough to earn him any serious consideration for MVP.
Yeah, definitely. Just because this is his rookie year, and just seeing from the history of past MVPs, NFL MVPs, there hasn't been any people that that are rookies that have won the MVP award, basically.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like John B was bringing in the current MVP odds last he heard or saw 40-1 at the moment. I mean, those are reasonably good odds to get on the MVP, but I'm still not buying at that particular odds, at those odds.
Definitely. And with the Minnesota game coming up on this Saturday, I'm just curious because this is definitely one question I don't think this hasn't brought up this show yet. Who do you think will step up in week 2 and maybe have another Samuel Womack trade? Because Samuel Womack game, because I think definitely Samuel Womack was not anybody for anybody's radar for a breakout game in that game. Most people think of Trey Lance or Brandon Ayuk for the breakout position in week number 1.
He was not. You know who I would suspect? I guess that Deebo and Brandon Ayuk will not be in this game, and that you will see a little bit of Danny Gray and Ray McLeod. And I saw some stuff from Ray that I think is just getting started, and he's in a serious competition to try and either earn the fourth wide receiver role ahead of Danny Gray, or even jump up to number 3 if Juwan Jennings, continues to struggle a little bit in practice with some of the drops. Maybe you see Ray getting a longer run. So I'm going to say Ray lights it up on the offense. He'll have to do it with Nate Sudfeld throwing it to him, so it'll be some underneath stuff, some checkdowns. But Ray has that short area quickness, and that seems to fit his skill set.
Definitely. I think Ray or possibly Danny Gray could definitely be a rising star, and could take that third wide receiver role from Juwan Jennings. However, I'm leaning more towards Danny Gray, especially with the explosive play he could show Trey Lance. And if he could do that with Trey Lance, I'm wondering just how good he could be with whether he's playing with either Nate Sudfeld or Brock Purdy. Just want to see, I'm just excited to see how well he can do against with them at the starting quarter or at the quarterback position.
Yeah, Brock Purdy would really need to step into those throws, throwing Danny Gray, man. You cannot overthrow that guy, and you got to put something on it to keep up with him. Just want to bring in John B's comment here, Sneakerhead here on the channel, saying, Rob, if he can keep this momentum from the last practice, it could be Deommodore Lenoir. He needs the confidence going into his second year. I'll be honest, John, I thought about Deommodore Lenoir as my pick before I went offense and went with Ray McLeod. I think you could be onto something. Certainly, there's some shifting happening on the backup outside cornerback position, and Lenoir may see his chance to solidify a specific position on this roster.
Definitely. I think that is also a good pick. However, one more pick I haven't thought about yet was possibly Juwan Jennings, because, like we said, we didn't see him perform much at all. We haven't heard much from training camp. So I definitely think his position as wide receiver number 3 is definitely maybe not in danger, but definitely something that he should be looking out on his back for, just because we don't know what what Kyle Shanahan is gonna decide to do for the third wide receiver number 3 when it comes to week 1 versus the Bears.
It's so true. And you would expect that between wide receivers 3, 4, and 5, it will depend on what matchup is happening that week, where we have a favorable matchup, according to Kyle Shanahan, and that from week to week, it could be a different receiver that leads as a third wide receiver. But throughout the season, there will be someone who is a favorite on those critical third downs. And as of the end of last year, it was unquestionably Juwan Jennings. It'll be fascinating to see if he can hold on to that spot going into the regular season.
Definitely. So I know we haven't talked about it in a while, but the Deebo contract, I wonder, it was 3 years for around $75 million, I believe, was it? Or somewhere around those ranges. So I just want to think, do you think it should have been 4 years, or do you think 3 years is what because I do hear some people think they like 3 years, just because at the end of 3 years he'll be around his 30s, and that's maybe an age where most wide receivers start to see the decline.
I'm comfortable with it because, to your point, he is 30 when the contract ends. He will probably renegotiate it when he turns 29 with 1 year remaining on that deal. If the San Francisco 49ers are still in contention at that point and Trey Lance is the dude who we all think that he is, you can always, extend him at that point. I'm comfortable with it. I would have rather locked him up for the 49ers standard, which, was more along the lines of those 5-year deals that they do with the 4-year extension. And that would have made me a little bit happier, but I think Deebo didn't want that longer deal. He wanted to test free agency again before he turned 30, and he gets his wish, and he gets to stay in San Francisco as well. So I'm comfortable with the deal.
Definitely. Yeah. I would rather have the 4-year deal, but I guess 3-year deal is definitely not too far from the 4-year deal I was looking for. So hopefully, I think there's also an element of people wanting them to, or the Niners wanting Deebo to prove himself, because definitely before last year, maybe he was a top wide receiver as he is right now. So definitely, I think there is an element of the Niners wanting him to say, like, hey, if you want that 4th or 5th year, you're gonna have to prove that prove that you are a top wide receiver, and that 1 year was just not just a fluke for that year, basically.
Absolutely. And I think Deebo will continue to prove that he is a special player. I don't have very many doubts about Deebo Samuel.
Definitely. I hope Deebo Samuel will continue to, because now all the rumors of Deebo Samuel and whether he's going to play for the season should be over by now. And yeah, definitely excited to see him for this to be over, and just for him to get back to working with Trey Lance and seeing how far this team can go with a new quarterback at the helm.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it is a thrilling season because it feels like we have the baseline team to get us into the playoffs, almost regardless how Trey Lance performs. But if Trey Lance is as good as I hope that he is, we have the potential to be a really, really special team.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to be on. Chris Royal coming in to say, great call, Jonathan. The notorious GAV is in here saying awesome call as well. I will say people like the look of the pencil in the ear, Jonathan. They are a fan of the pencil in the ear, as am I. It's a good, it makes you look, very serious at the moment, which I think is great for the camera. But Jonathan, they wanted to know, notorious GAV asks, we want to know what the brand of pencil is. We've got a unique fan base here, Jonathan.
Let's see here. I'm not sure if you can. I'm going to see if I can pull up to the camera. It's an Amazon Basic. I know it's a bit blurry, but
Amazon Basic. You can't go wrong with Amazon. I'm not a fan of Jeff Bezos, but you can't go wrong with Amazon. Jonathan, it is always a pleasure having you on here, my friend. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Enjoy the rest of your evening, good sir. All right, we are bringing into the program. By the way, the notorious GAV is delighted. It sounds as if Gav has already hit that, what he was talking about when he got off of his call. He says, that's a damn fine pencil. All right, we are bringing in That Niner Guy to the stream. That Niner Guy, welcome in, sir. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great, man. It's closer to real football.
Yes, it is. We are inching ever so close to legitimate football that actually counts.
Yeah, man, it's been long. It's been rough. I'm tired of all the scouts telling everyone how good or bad Trey is going to be. And I'm over it. I'm over it.
Yeah, let's just see. Let's just see how good he actually is.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, he's playing better than probably most people think. He's going to be worse than some people think.
Yeah.
We'll
right.
Just give the kid a chance. Just give him a chance.
It's amazing to me how opinionated people are right now and how certain some people are right now, too. Like, it's like, whoa, ease up a little bit. Like, I know you've watched some tape. I know you've seen some practices, but maybe just wait and see a little bit. Maybe let the guy go through some growing pains. Let him have some ups and downs. And yes, acknowledge he is a super special talent.
I just love how everyone just like the greatest quarterback prospect scout of all time now. It's great. It's so fun. It's amazing. Love it. I love it. It's so much fun to deal with.
Yes, it is. And great that we still have our old quarterback on the roster so that we can revisit that conversation whenever we want to.
We should just call him Al. Just who? Yeah, no, he doesn't matter. He's cut in a couple weeks anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just cut him now. I don't. There's no point in waiting anymore.
Yeah, the only thing they're holding out for now is what almost happened with the injury to Zach Wilson there in New York, right? It feels weird to sort of have your fingers crossed for a season-ending injury for a quarterback out there. So I refuse to do so, but that seems like what the Niners are just waiting on at this point.
But also just like, I think teams are just like, okay, we'll wait 2 weeks and just cut him anyway. A lot of the teams are in that situation have kind of covered themselves. Like you talk about Miami, they signed Teddy Bridgewater. You talk about the Giants, they have Tyrod Taylor. So at least like something happens to these young guys where you don't really know. They already have a backup plan in place, at least for a little while. And then you bring Jimmy in after he's cut on whatever deal you want. And then you just acclimate him as the season goes. You don't have to start him right away. There's no rush for these other teams. So at this point, you got less than 2 weeks left of training camp. How much of the playbook is he actually going to absorb at this point versus waiting 12 days, letting him get cut by the Niners and then bringing him in there? Like, how much further in the playbook is he going to be if you trade for him now? Not much is the answer I'm coming up with. Yeah, the answer is none. But anyway, I think the couple of things you want to chime in on. Is anyone else behind me, Rob, or is it just me? Am I the last one?
We got Bullpup 33 and Jaguayo 56.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll speed run this. All right. Here's the thing. Number one, I don't think the 49ers have a third wide receiver. I think they got three. Here's why. They're going to use the matchups each week in different situations. If they're running the ball a ton, you're going to see a lot more Juwan Jennings. If they're going to go gadget and, short and intermediate passing, they'll go Ray. Although Ray can do a little bit more than that. But another gadget guy, if Deebo, maybe they want to hold off Deebo with some of this other stuff, they're going to use Ray. If they want the deep bet, they're going to use Danny Gray. So it's going to be kind of pick your poison. I'm excited to see when they put Deebo in the backfield, put the three other receivers on the field, whether it's Ray, Jennings, Danny Gray, and Ayuk in some form or fashion, and start moving Deebo over the formation. I think this empty package that they're clearly working on, you've seen Trey empty a lot. And I think it's going to put a lot of stress on defense, forcing them to either blitz or play coverage. And it gives Trey easy looks. When you're in empty, it's really simple because you got to basically play man, cover 2, cover 3. You can't really do a lot of the crazy stuff because you will get spread out and you'll get picked apart. So I'm excited for that. Other than that, I mean, listen, everyone be pumped for Samuel Womack and Spencer Buford. Great job by the Niners scouts. Let's say well done. Like, you got starters in the 4th and 5th round. Anytime you do that, it's a big freaking congratulations. Though that doesn't happen very often.
Huge. The Niners have hit on some of those later round draft picks at an astonishing rate when you look at their drafts underneath John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, if only they were better in the 2nd and 3rd.
Taking shots.
I mean, listen, all right. I know Deebo's 2nd round pick, but Dante Pettis is also a 2nd round
pick. Yep.
I know it happens, but
it does.
It's a
the best teams miss, that's for sure. But there were some big ones in this regime.
I mean, Belichick hasn't drafted like a real football player in years. So I mean, he's struggling with it too. It is what it is.
If Belichick can struggle, anyone can struggle.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the last thing is we're gonna throw some strays. Remember all you folks who said we should trade Nick Bosa for the 1st overall pick to get Aiden Hutchinson? You still want to do that? Sure, you still want to do that?
And that was madness to me. The idea of finding gold and then being like, all right, take that gold and sell it. Like, no, you take that gold and you hold on to that gold because it's worth money and the price is only going up. It is going to hurt when Nick has a 20-plus sack season and then we have to pay him next offseason instead of getting it done this offseason. But that's a pain I'm willing to endure.
You pay for premium talent.
Yeah.
You can knock the 49ers for all sorts of stuff, but at least they're paying for premium talent.
They are. Only once have they not paid for premium talent, and we won't let them forget about that one move, sending DeForest Buckner off to the Colts. And rightfully so, that we don't let them forget about it. They seem to have learned from it.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the lesson is like you don't let stars go out of the building because immediately following that, Kittle, Warner, Deebo all get massive contracts. Highest paid at their position, all 3 of them. All of them were well-deserved, too. So,
absolutely well-deserved.
They learned their lesson. Proud they learned their lesson. But yeah, other than that, I think folks in general, let's just go on. Just keep it up. We're going to get there. As far as the preseason goes, it's just another padded practice to me. Let's see guys compete. We'll see what happens, see where the chips fall. I'd like to see Ambry Thomas play better. I don't think that's
God,
gonna
would
happen.
I ever?
I'd like
He's
to
struggling.
see it. I also like to see who the hell the backup safeties are, because I'm genuinely scared we're not going to have Jimmy Ward till week 4. Just because if he misses week 1, he'll probably miss week 2. And I highly doubt off a hamstring pull they're going to put him out at Denver.
Right.
That altitude, the guys get hurt and that they have muscle tissue off all the time and that stuff. So that's something maybe to keep an eye out for. They might be more cautious with Jimmy Ward because he's getting older. But, I think if there's any positions to watch as far as that goes, we got to see who can play backup safety, because Tavarius Moore, it's been rough.
That was pretty ugly to see on that one where he just got torched. What was your impression of that one play? I've heard different things about it, whether it was, criticism that he doesn't look like he's all the way back from the Achilles injury, didn't feel comfortable, getting from 0 to 60 as fast as possible in that break off. My own personal observation was just didn't get hands on the dude in the release. What was your take on that play?
It's a hard play. It's 4th down. They're manned up across the board. They're bringing 6. So you got to be man-to-man. You have no help. But right. I think the thing with Moore is that you see him miss assignments. Like, this isn't new, though. That wasn't a physical mistake. That was more of a mental mistake, right? Because he knows he has no help over the top, and he got burnt and beat anyway by a guy who runs a 4.7. Romeo Doubs is not known for his speed. He's known for being a hands. Yeah, that's the hard part, is that if you're a guy who makes a lot of mental mistakes and loses that physical ability, you're going to struggle more often than not. So, and I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2020, he played a lot. And I just turned that Bills game on, and you're going to go, oh, my God. So, yeah, that one was rough.
Yeah, it is interesting. The Niners, went out and worked out and signed a backup safety today. The name is escaping me right now of the individual that they picked up, I believe.
Was it Tyshawn Gibson?
Gibson, yep.
Yeah, he's been a starter. So I think the Niners are. He was a starter with the Bears for a while.
The Bears, right?
Yeah, he's pretty good. I think he wasn't a start. He was a starter after Adrian Amos left for a couple of years there, and I mean he can play. I mean he's at least a guy who can play, because I think Tavarius Moore is not going to make the roster most likely.
Oh, interesting. You don't think he makes the 53?
No, I don't, because they're going to keep. They usually only keep 3 to 4 safeties anyway.
Yeah,
Funga and Ward are automatically yeses. Now the way I think the only way Moore makes the roster is if Jimmy Ward is on the injured list.
Right. If he starts out on IR and has to come back midseason, that makes sense.
Yeah, because they're bringing in a veteran safety, because Gibson's more of a free safety than a strong safety. So I think the Niners understand that, hey, we have a problem with guys in the deep third right now. If Moore can't cut it, we need someone who can just jump in and do it.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be fascinating to see who ends up on that 53-man after the cutdowns.
Yeah,
I will want to have you on the program close to that 53-man cutdown so that we can make some guesses and predictions.
Oh, no, I'm for sure. I'm going to become a regular again,
Yes.
I did my unplug a little bit. Now that we're getting real football, now we have real things to talk about.
Yes.
Not the shenanigans of the Florios and the Cowherds and the Peter Kings. Everyone just keep those receipts. And when the season, and Silver too. Silver's he's on the crap.
Silver's
list.
Been talking some, that's for sure.
Hang on to those receipts. And then when the season's over, everyone just goes Steph Curry petty on them and just blow them up. Because
Steph Curry and Draymond time.
That's what Bay Area fans do now. We are the most petty people, and we win championships, and we don't care.
Care. I'll take it. I'm with it. That Niner guy, always a pleasure, my friend.
See you, buddy. Take care.
Take care. All right, we are bringing in Bullpup 33 to the program. We're getting in Bullpup 33 and Jaguar 56 in the next 10 minutes before we got to wrap this thing up. Bullpup, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing good, my man. How you been?
I've been good. I'm better now that we are getting close to the regular season. I'm going to die during that little dead period that happens. I don't know how we worked in this dead period after preseason. That seems like a tease, but I'll make it. I'll make it through to the regular season, and then I'll be hyped.
There you go. So, something someone said earlier, so-and-so is having a good practice, or I didn't see the second part of the game. There's 2 types of players.
Yeah.
There's practice players, and then there's game players.
Gamers.
Jeff Garcia was famous for being horrible in practice. Not horrible, but not being his best in practice, but gamer.
Yes, the jump throws were epic gamer stats for him.
Yeah,
Gamer moves.
Absolutely. So when I hear someone's doing really good in practice, I want to see him back it up in the game.
Yeah.
I want to see him, so-and-so is having a good practice year. Well, that doesn't tell me anything if I don't see him. Nobody mentions his name during the game, which could be a good thing depending on your position. But you know what I'm saying.
Right. If you're an offensive lineman, it's great if nobody says your name.
Right. But so a little bit of area concern. Who do I want to see do better in Minnesota in the next 2 games?
Yeah.
I want to see Drake Jackson's name mentioned.
Okay. He looked like he was doing well. I was very concerned after seeing the shoulder stinger. I'll be honest that with the way he walked off the field, I thought that was going to be a lingering injury. What did you see from him in the first game? Were you excited by what you saw, the speed that he flashed, or was it not enough?
How many sacks did he get?
0.
All right, that should tell you right there.
So you need to see a sack in the stat column in order to consider it a success for him.
I do. Because that's the whole point of his position.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, you could argue that pressures matter a whole lot. You could matter that, if he collapses the pocket and the quarterback has to scramble, that's affecting the game in some way. But certainly the true way in which it's measured is going to be through the sacks. And I hope that he can rack up close to double digits this year. But I agree. I want to see something from him with the remaining preseason games to feel confident about that.
Even if he doesn't get a sack, if I can see him in quarterbacks' grill all the time, then okay, that's good. That's
Get
good.
some QB hits, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really flashed at me last game. I was expecting when you're the quote unquote first pick for us, right? When you're first round talent, quote unquote, I got to see something.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you agree on that one?
You want to see him flash something. Yeah, I mean, typically I want to see some physical attributes that make me understand, that's why he was coveted as a first round pick. I thought I saw flashes of that from Jake Jackson personally, but to your point, didn't come up with the stats to back it up.
Yeah, so I want to see progression. I know he's a rookie, so I want to see progression.
Progression is critical. So critical.
Yeah. So I want to see progression, and there's a dark horse that really has me intrigued. The Niners seem to do this every other year, every once in a while. Not with Shanahan so much. Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
The guy knows how to play the position like Shanahan said.
He can operate that offense, can he?
He can. He if you give him enough reps, maybe he learns how to throw us a little bit more arm strength. I can see him taking over the number 2 spot eventually.
I could too. I mean, certainly, just build up that arm strength. Early on in his career, people had criticisms about Tom Brady. I'm in no way comparing Tom Brady to Brock Purdy.
Right.
In no way. But it's certainly something that he can improve upon. And if he's a backup quarterback, it's not something he ever has to completely fix, right? If he can operate within the offense, take what the defense is giving him, Kyle Shanahan can scheme around a less than stellar arm.
I mean, he did it with Nick Mullen.
Yeah, absolutely. They didn't win all that many games with that combination, but there were other factors at play.
Yeah, for sure. That was a different team era altogether. So I think that's a surprise, and I'm going to keep an eye on Brock Purdy. He's definitely practice squad for sure. Yeah. I think he's going to. I think in today's day and age, you need to carry three quarterbacks.
Right. I wouldn't be shocked if there were a team out there that attempted to poach him if he doesn't make it onto the 53-man roster, which I don't anticipate that he will. I think he is destined for the practice squad, but it's possible that he flashes enough for another team to take a stab at him.
I mean, if he keeps throwing touchdowns and drives, and you're going to have to notice him.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I think there's a lot of, stuff we got to look at. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great year, I think. I saw a YouTube video about the most loyal and unloyal fans.
Who was on it?
We were not on the list at all.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, at least we're not the unloyal ones listed there. That's a positive. Hey. I feel like, how many did they list for top loyal fans? Did they go top 3 or was it like top 5?
They were like top 5.
And we weren't on that? That's BS.
I agree.
Look at our road games. Look at how much red there is in the stadiums at our road games. That's a loyal fan base.
I'm calling everybody out in the Empire. We need to replicate what we did last year, and we need to just take over stadiums from now on.
Like, I could get it if they put, the Cowboys above us because they are a nationally recognized and a global brand. So are the Niners, but a little bit less so. I could see if they put, like, the Steelers ahead of us because they travel really well. Maybe even the Packers fans. But beyond that, I'm not taking anyone else as a gimme above Niner faithful. And I would argue some of those others, right? I would put us in the top 3, but I would need to argue my way into that position. But I think Niner faithful are faithful. That's where we get the damn name from.
Yeah, we need to start showing up, taking over stadiums like we did. Obviously, we got our practice facility that the Rams, take care for us, during the offseason down south. They call it SoFi. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a great year. It's going to be an exciting year. And the only way Trey Lance wins MVP is going to be with the late surge.
Yeah. If he comes on at the end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then, with reporters and other people, it's kind of like the judges in boxing, they remember the last round more so than the rest of the fight. So
absolutely. Recency bias.
Yeah. So if Lance starts off cool, but then starts warming up and heaps up towards the last quarter of the year and we do something. Oh, yeah. I can see that. I
like it. Are you putting any money on it? That's the real question.
For MVP?
Yeah.
Ooh, if I was a Vegas guy, I would do even money.
Okay. I like it. All right, Bullpup, I got to go down to Jaguar 56 before we hit the 6:30 hour to get him in. Fantastic call. I hope to continue these as we get into the regular season because then we're talking about real football that matters, my friend. Oh, we lost him, but we're bringing in Jaguar 56. Perfect timing. Jaguar, welcome to the program. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for coming in. Pleasure to be speaking with you, my friend.
Hey, Rob, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Very excited for another preseason game and more excited to get into the regular season. Just want to take one moment to read Chris Royal's super chat. He was on the way out here. He says, Rob, you're a genuinely awesome dude, and I appreciate the content you bring as always. Keep killing it, my dude, and I'll see you next week. Chris, appreciate you. Appreciate the kind words. Appreciate the super chat. It means a great deal. Really, really. Man, the channel is phenomenal. Always love it. At Jaguar 56, always love conversing with you as well. Tell me what's on your mind.
Okay, I'll do it really quick. So first of all, I'm impressed with how the O-line, how much depth we have. I thought we played pretty good. I was looking at Jason Poe, Burford, Banks, and they played pretty good. I thought they did their assignments. I saw Jason Poe really, it's surprising. He's small stature, but he's a big-hearted guy. He's strong. Yeah,
and big dude, just a small package.
Yes. So I was impressed. I really liked it. I liked that they were ready to go, and not too many penalties. So that means that they're pretty disciplined. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is the running backs. I don't know about Jeff Wilson Jr. if he's going to make the team. I mean, because you have Mitchell, TDP. I thought Hasty played a decent game, better than I thought. Sermon played okay. And then we got Mason. Mason played pretty good, even though it was, second, third teamers. But still, he was pretty impressive. So I don't know about Jeff Wilson. What do you think?
It's tough for me because I'm starting to wonder if, in fact, the 49ers maybe do lean towards rolling with one additional running back, right? We ran into a hole at the beginning of last season with injuries. We have consistently seemed to run through running backs as disposable items, and we have a glut of very talented ones on the roster right now. It's interesting to consider whether the Niners maybe look at only rolling with 5 wide receivers, as they did later in the season last year, or whether they value Malik Turner as that 6th wide receiver or someone else as that 6th wide receiver to contribute as a gunner as well. But to your point of Jeff Wilson Jr., he gets used on special teams as well. So you might see a situation where, including Juice, they go with 6 running backs and only 5 wide receivers. It's just going to be fascinating to explore the cut down as we get closer to the 53-man deadline.
Yes. So I'm intrigued to see on this game against the Vikings who plays. The other thing is the edge opposite Bosa. Is it going to be Ebukam? Teray, Drake Jackson looked pretty good to me. Hyder, about a minute. So I think Drake Jackson, he flashed for me. I could see why they got him. And I think he's got all the tools. He's got all the tools you want.
Absolutely. I love Drake Jackson. I predict by the end of the season, he does hold down that spot opposite of Bosa. But Samson Ebukam seems to be holding it down for now, was the favorite coming in. I would anticipate that to start the season, that's who we see out there. But it is that talent at the edge position that makes me feel really confident about this defense, because you named all those players who are going to contribute on some level this season, depending on how many snaps they get in there.
Yes. And so the other thing that I was hopeful and it made me feel good was Kinlaw. You know, if Kinlaw plays 12 to 13 games around there, I'll take it all day.
Absolutely. That would be a win. Even if he doesn't have a statistically huge season, if he's just able to get those games under his belt.
Yes, just to start, have him start and then just kind of rotate him little by little as he gets, and see how he does as he gets stronger through the season.
Absolutely.
And the other thing was, I was looking back at the draft. They had a hell of a draft. You got
draft.
Jackson, Gray, Womack, Poe, Burford, Purdy. They all look good. All of them. You saw a lot of them contributed in this preseason game.
I was very critical with them making all of their selections, that I was like, hey, that's too many rookies that you're bringing in here. Not that many are going to make the team. But hey, if you throw that many against the dartboard and a few of them stick and they are high scoring darts, right? If you get a couple of bullseyes, then it was worth it. It was worth not trading up and getting that one coveted player that I may have wanted as a ball hawk. No, they took a lot of shots and it seems that they've hit on a fair number of them.
Yeah. So, looking back, good job for them. And the last thing was, do you think, is Trey going to play this game, or is it going to be just Sudfeld and Purdy?
It looks like it's just going to be Sudfeld and Purdy. I would look for a 50-50 split, Sudfeld for the first half, Purdy coming in at halftime, and we'll just get an extended look at the both of them.
So I'm just looking at that, and that's a good thing because I want to see all the backups. So I want to see who's going to be on the second, who's fighting for the second spot.
Yeah.
O-line, D-line, wherever. So I'm looking for that. So I'm really going to watch the game, just looking for that. But I think we're going to be okay. I think we're a physical team. No matter win, lose, or draw, we're going to be a physical team. So that's kind of like where I'm at right now. So I'll let you go. Thank you again for your time, your effort, all the hard work you do, because you keep the faithful always informed. You're always level-headed, and I love the show. Sneakerhead for life, like I said. And you be careful. You stay safe. And I wish you the best for your family. Stay blessed.
Thank you. You stay blessed as well. And thank you so much for the call. Always appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. Just getting to Raphael 5629ers comment here. Great show, Rob and Sneakerheads. Raphael 5629ers. Thank you. Appreciate it. Agree with Gav here. It was a great call. We got a late edition in Swan Song. Swan, I don't have time to go through a call, but I had to bring you on to say what's up, my man.
Right on. What's up? How's it going?
It's good. It's good. I got to run at this point. I'm a little late. I was supposed to get off 5 minutes ago, but
sorry that I was late.
But we will. No, that's okay. I wanted to say what's up. Wanted to say hello. Great victory against Green Bay, huh? A little fantastic share the moment. But we will continue this dialogue next week.
Right on. See you next Thursday.
Always a pleasure, Swan. Take care, man.
See you, bro.
Enjoy the game.
You too.
All right. Great call. Great show. Appreciate all of you and the good vibes. You always make me feel better. And that's just, man, that is something to be said. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow with Jack Hammer. Until then, cheers, faithful.